Many of the donors who give $50 or more are tired of getting an email that says, I'm in trouble, send me another $5 before midnight tonight. When if we were smart, we would learn a lesson, for example, from Facebook, where people are constantly on social media receiving content, right? And so you're looking at and you're seeing videos of our chair candidates, of President Obama, et cetera, except that we're not in the business of creating content in exchange for the encouragement of investment.
Hey Young Turks, I'm Nomi Konst. We are here at the DNC Futures Forum in Houston, and they just finished a series of panels about the money involved with the DNC, because there's a lot of it. And we have the finance chair for the Democratic Party here, who's running unopposed, Henry Munoz. But you gave a nice speech just now about the Democratic Party's finances.
Well, it's a very important part of building a party that is strong and healthy. My opinion, one of the reasons why I ran for re-election is because I think that our party needs to change culturally. We need to include the voices of more young people in particular. There were many young people in this last presidential cycle, that became investors in a particular candidate, and we need to take that energy and we need to figure out how to convince young people that they should invest in the Democratic Party, because we're the only party that has their best interests at heart.
It was interesting to hear the questions coming from the audience. The audience is made up of DNC members. Those are the ones asking questions. We've been interviewing members from Phoenix, the western region, to this region, and there is a lot of discussion about where the money is going. Some discussion about how the money is being raised, about whether or not to take lobbying money. But what we keep hearing over and over is, where's the money going? It's not going to the states. And some of those questions were asked, and you addressed it head on. How would you change that culture of making sure the money that's being raised from, whether it's individuals or large donors, is going to the organizing and not, the big ad buys that seems to be where the money is going, although the budget's not out there to know for sure.
Well, I'm a person that believes that the grassroots foundation of the party is the most important, that the sustainable organization of the party that happens at the local level, at the state level, is what builds our party nationally. So the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to have a national phone call with the state party directors and with the state party chairman, and we're going to listen. And we're going to figure out why, in their opinion, they feel as if the money that is being raised isn't filtering down to programs that are accomplishing what needs to be accomplished, primarily leadership development, training. I hear, for example, that the states don't feel like the finance department does enough training to help them learn how to raise money on their own. We've spent a lot of time talking about joint fundraising agreements. Our first joint fundraising agreements need to be with the state parties themselves. I also believe that the party ought to be like any government, that our budgeting process ought to be completely transparent and open, and it isn't. And so that cultural change needs to be brought to the DNC as well, because I think it belongs to all of the members of the DNC who represent the people of this country, all 50 states, to make a determination about how that money should be spent. I think when you do that and you are willing to create that kind of transparency, that will only grow our fundraising. It won't hurt it, it will grow it. And like I said up on that stage, a party that can raise $1 billion during a presidential cycle ought to be able to raise the resistance funds to do battle in this critical moment in our country's history. And everybody should feel like their investment is important, whether it's $5 or $5,000.
The budget, as you mentioned, has not been transparent. The other side of it is campaigns are being reinvented. While parties do need to raise a lot of money, and maybe, if the budget were allocated differently, maybe not as much money as previously, or maybe more, we don't know. But one thing is clear is there's technology out there that, maybe an ad that would be cut for $50,000 can now be cut, for $3,000. There are tools out there that make a lot of what costs campaigns so much money much more effective. Is that being discussed in the DNC at all?
No, but it should be. And maybe that's my design background. I come from a place in my professional career where I design institutions. And the way that you design institutions is that you get your smartest people in a room, your broadest perspective, your thought leaders, people from different walks of life that will populate your institution, and you ask them questions because design changes, places change, and once you design them, you shape the activities that happen inside of them. So I keep saying that if we're going to mount a capital campaign, right, maybe we're changing our model. We don't have the White House. We need to create excitement for people who want to invest in something different than having their photo taken with the President of the United States. Well, maybe that campaign needs to be about the creation of a digital architecture, a 21st century architecture that arms us, that prepares us for what's to come. And I've been around long enough to know that that doesn't stand still. You don't draw a line. It always continues to evolve. So I think we need to stop and have a conversation about the culture of who we are. Say, this is who we need to be in the future. I personally believe that we aren't just about presidential election cycles. I believe that the party needs to be creating the next generation of leadership. That can't just happen in Washington, D.C. It can't just be on 4-year periods of time. And I think once we do that, then it will become clear who needs to be in the room. We need to be courageous enough to let people in the room who tell us that they don't agree. And once we are in that room, it'll tell us a lot about the shape of the institution that we want to create and how to populate that. I think, Winston Churchill said, we shape our buildings and afterwards our buildings shape us. So I think maybe we approach this as a political question, and maybe it's time to approach it as a cultural question, a design question that encompasses more than the traditional political thinking, that recognizes that we're a very important cultural brand, cultural institution for this country, and we need to include not just more voices, but new technologies that are out there at our disposal.